Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Awesome Dynamic Show. My name is Paul DeWarian, owner and president of Awesome Dynamic. With me today, I have Blake Tintori, who helps out with our Amazon stuff and SEO stuff. Blake, do you want to say hello?
Why, hello, everyone.
And also with me is Tim DeWarian, my brother and also Amazon specialist. Tim comes to us from Chicago. Tim, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
All right. What we're going to do today is a little special episode. We're not only going to cover the one particular topic, which is on keyword research and debunking and decoding those myths that go along with it, which is actually quite an in-depth topic, and we're really looking forward to hop right into that content right away. And we're going to cover it over several webinars because there is so much great information about keyword research we have to share with you so you understand the full breadth of what there is to know about keyword research. But in addition to that, we also have a special guest today. His name is Ted Limas, and his website is tedlawfirm.com. He specializes in helping businesses, both small and large, with helping in regard to account suspension issues, enforcing MAP policy pricing, and many other things as well. So he'll be joining us about 15 minutes into the broadcast, and we're looking forward to talking with him at that time. Therefore, I'd like to get started on our first topic. Oh, and before I get into that, I'd also like to mention that we have questions available for people to ask. So if you're in the Hangout at this point, I'd like you to hit the question button on the left side of your screen if you're logged in with your Google account, and then you can ask questions. We'll be monitoring those throughout the process. Tim, could you just very briefly give us just a tiny little brief background on what's of Ted and what he does with it, or what we've been doing or talking with him about?
Sure. So today we're going to be talking with Ted about communicating with Amazon and how you can get effective results from Amazon whenever you need to get something done or have any questions.
All right, thank you, Tim. So let's hop into this this one blog article, and I'm going to share my screen. We'll pull that up. Here it is, Debunking and Decoding Keyword Research. And the reason this is so important, and I'm going to go through this article, Tim and Blake, or rather Blake, if you have any questions throughout this process, I'd like you to ask me any questions that you have.
You got
But
it.
Robin wrote this blog article, and go ahead and get those show notes going, Blake. Robin wrote this blog article about all the different things that go into keyword research, and it is quite a in-depth topic, and it really drives every single thing that you're going to do going forward in your SEO plan. A lot of times when we start with folks, we take the keywords that they think are the best keywords first and start running rank tracker on those different keywords to find out where they and their competitors rank right away in the search results, just so we can kind of get an idea of where we're going. But the best way to get started in many cases is to do an in-depth keyword research project. And the reason why that's so important is so we know with data which words are going to be the best to rank for. Because we can find out with keyword research how many people nationwide are searching for a particular keyword. If we find that one keyword yields thousands of people searching for it on a daily basis or monthly basis, and another keyword only yields a couple people searching, that's a huge difference in the number of people searching for that keyword. And we want to go for the one that yields more visitors. Because when we scale that down to a local context, obviously the number is going to be much less than a national context. So keywords, let's back up for a moment and talk about what is keyword research. And it's essentially looking for the words that not only just like one word, so keyword research. When we talk about keywords, a lot of times we're talking about keyword phrases. And those keyword phrases that people type in really make a difference in how you show up. So I want to show you an example of a keyword that we currently rank for. I'm going to pop open a new tab here, and I'm just going to search Amazon Seller Consulting. I search this in Google, and we come up number 3 on the list of the organic results. We're usually hovering between 1 and 3 here. And this is the search term that I searched. and we could see the different search results that come up. And this would be a keyword phrase, or a lot of times we just abbreviate that as a keyword. So when we're looking at keywords, there's so many different things to consider. We're going to get into a lot of those details throughout this blog article and through several of our webinars and videos. But initially, in a nutshell, it's a word that someone searches that results in different things coming up on Google. So when we're looking at the word, there's so many things to think about when you're thinking about SEO. Is this keyword really going to lead to a sale? What is the intent behind the keyword? Is it relevant to what you do? And if I scroll, one way to do really, really quick keyword research is I can type in something and I can scroll down to the bottom of the page and look at the auto suggestions, the suggestions that Google has. Amazon Sales Consultants, Amazon Consulting Services, Amazon Consulting Experts, Amazon FBA Consulting, Amazon Seller Consulting Services, Amazon Optimization Consultant. So all these things are relevant to what I do. However, here's one, Amazon Consultant Salary. This is not something I would want to rank for because it does not yield somebody who's looking to pay Awesome Dynamic for our services. So that's kind of how I would distinguish some of these from the other ones. But how do we know which ones are yielding more search traffic than others? Well, there's a lot of things that we use, a lot of tools that we use to determine that. And we're going to get into those details as we go through this blog article. So knowing... Go ahead,
I had a
Blake.
question for you, Paul. Why is it so important to be on the first page, essentially, of Google versus, let's say, page 3 to 5?
Sure, I'll definitely answer that. And it is a very important question, so why should I care? Well, statistically speaking, I'm going to use my little measuring tool here. Okay, so the ad went away, so the little ad disappeared up here. Right here, this is the first result. Statistically speaking, this result gets a 42% click-through ratio. Here's spot number 2. This gets a 12% click-through ratio, so 42 to 12. This gets an 8% click-through ratio. This one, 7. This one, 6. 5%, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when you think about people who say no one goes to the second page of Google, they're essentially right. And there are those of us that are looking for something and we're willing to go through multiple pages, but what most people do is they come up to the top, they type some other word combination to see if they're going to come up with something better. Let's say, okay, well, let's do consulting services. Okay, you see I come up for this as well, but not as high. Or I might do Amazon Consulting Experts. Okay, here's a different set of results. There I am again. So there's different, here's Amazon Product Consultant. So I don't even show up for that one. But you can see that different results come up for the different words. And again, that percentage is 42, 12, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 down the page. That's why it's important to be on the first page of Google, because if you're not, you don't even have a chance of getting that click-through for the term that you're looking to get ranked for. So let me flip it on the other side, Blake. So what? So let's say I am ranking for that keyword that I want to rank for. What difference does that make? Well, I'll tell you what difference it's making for my business right now. Because we're ranking number 3 here, this is actually yielding 2 to 3 new people contacting me through my website or through our phone number every single day from across the country and the world. We've even had people find us in Russia, Sweden, the Dominican Republic, and Canada that have called us over the last month, in addition to folks all over the United States. So that means my sales director, Terry Levin, who's usually with us on the webinars here, doesn't have to do any cold calling or reaching out or networking to find people, because we just have them coming in through the website. And that's why SEO in general is targeted advertising, and knowing the keywords that people are searching and making sure you're coming up for those keywords is so very important to make that very unique situation happen, which is I'm showing up for words that people are searching for. Now, there's tons of factors that influence whether or not you show up, but knowing which words are the best to show up for is really at the core of making sure you're doing all the work after that around the correct keywords. We also see that my results, and I'm sure you noticed that as I'm talking about that, has something unique versus all the other ones, and that is I have golden stars next to my my search result here, and we do that with a special technique called schema markup. And then we also have a customized title tag that makes it stand out. And those golden stars and this customized title tag and some of this other stuff can kind of trump those results, the 42, 12, 8%. So a lot of folks will see these golden stars, the eye will snap there, and they'll click on this one first if it looks really relevant to them, which essentially gives me a much higher percentage than if I didn't have those. You'll see that mine says number 1, Amazon Seller Consulting, top rated experts, best results. I picked all those words and I put them there. We have a whole nother blog and video about power words and which ones are going to really resonate with people and make them click on your result versus others. We picked these specifically because they resonate with folks and get people to want to click on our result here versus some of the other results that are there. Blake, does that answer your question pretty well?
Absolutely. I think you couldn't have answered that better.
Well, thank you, Blake. I appreciate that compliment. So we do have our special guest coming up in a moment, but before that happens, I just want to talk about why it's important for your business. I think we really covered that, and this is where that 42%, 12%, and 8% came in, and it just keeps going down and down from there. That's why it's important to your business. If you're not showing up at the first page of Google and you're spending time doing all sorts of stuff on your Facebook or optimizing pages without knowing what keyword you're supposed to rank for or not knowing the correct way to optimize for those pages, those types of things will hold you back unless you're picking the right keywords to begin with. So the next video that we do that will be about keyword research will really involve the 3 key ideas of keyword research and what the golden rules are. And there's actually 4 golden rules. There's relevancy, traffic, commerciality, and competition. And competition is a whole other piece that we have down here in the blog. But we want to split these different ideas up and sprinkle them through here because there's a lot of content, a lot of really important things to consider with each of these different points. And we have a whole series of videos from the keyword research software we use, Market Samurai, and we're going to include not only this video, but also other videos that get into a lot of these details and their videos throughout this blog. This will be very, very good blog post all about keyword research and how it impacts the decisions you should be making for your business online. So with that being said, I want to take a break there for this portion of the keyword research and really encourage you to come on with us for the next section of the keyword research segment on our blog or our webinar either next week or the week after, and we'll cover all those other concepts at that time. So at this point, I'd like to welcome, and you'll see that he had just popped in at the bottom of our screen here, and that is Ted Limas. Ted, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today. The one thing I want to do right now is I have your website pulled up here, and I'd love you to give us just a brief introduction to who you are and a little bit about what you do at your law firm. And I have your website pulled up here so you can introduce yourself to the audience because this will be going out as a separate segment, and you'll be able to use it on your website, and we'll be promoting it as well.
Great. Thank you, Paul. It's terrific to be with you guys today. I appreciate your inviting me on. So I'm an attorney. I'm licensed to practice in California. I've been practicing law here for the last 26 years. And a couple of years ago, I opened up my own law practice, the Ted Limas Law Firm, and with a specialty really in helping Amazon sellers to enforce their intellectual property, to enhance their brand, and to otherwise deal with Amazon, which includes account suspension appeals and that sort of thing. Really enjoy working with the Amazon community. I think it's a terrific practice niche that I have, and as I say, it's something that I really enjoy doing. So again, thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you for joining us. We're really excited because you have such a unique perspective on some really important issues that folks have a lot of trouble with, which is really communicating with Amazon. And we're going to pull up a PowerPoint, and we're going to put our focus on Tim's screen now. And Ted, if you see at the bottom there, the different folks there, you'll see Tim's is, it says Awesome Dynamic, but you see the little PowerPoint there. Click on that, and then I'll keep that in focus. And we have today's special guest, Ted Limas Law Firm. And Ted, how do people reach you? What's the best way? We can get to your website and call you. You want to tell us those details?
Thank you. People can reach me at my email, ted@tedlawfirm.com. You have my website up, which is tedlawfirm.com, or give me a call, 626-993-7000.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ted. So, Tim, you want to pull up our first slide? And, Tim, why don't you say hello now that you got this all set up for us?
Yes, sorry about that. Hello.
All right. So I really love some of the different things that you had sent us, Ted, on this. And I love the title that you had here, which is Your Relationship with Amazon is Probably Dysfunctional and Get Over With. And a lot of the folks that contact us every day to help them with their problems with Amazon just get extremely frustrated with working with the folks that answer the phone at Amazon, and a lot of them really focus on only using the phone versus the case system, and you have a lot of insight into this that we've talked about. So I'd love to give you the floor and talk through a couple of different points that you have here.
Sure. So, I think your listeners should sort of view Amazon as kind of that eccentric uncle who happens to be very wealthy and well connected in every possible way, but every time you try to get a hold of that uncle, he's never to be found, and he's set things up so that it's almost impossible to ever contact him or locate him. Just bear in mind that the way Amazon is set up is that they put 90 or even 95% of all of their resources into having brilliant customer service. So they're all about fulfillment. They're all about the customer experience, and they expect that all of the sellers on their platform have that same kind of laser-like focus on the customer experience. And everything else at Amazon fits into the 10%. So that includes all the relationships with the sellers. It includes intellectual property issues, the legal department, and all the other day-to-day mundane things of a business. And so that means Amazon just does not put a high priority into maintaining its relationship with the sellers. Its priority is to maintain a super high quality experience for its customers. So just bear that in mind, and you'll still be able to deal with Amazon, but you're just going to have to work within the system and be patient.
Yeah, Ted, I just talked with one of my clients yesterday, one of our largest clients with several thousand SKUs, and they were at a trade show, and Amazon approached them and said that they expressed some of these frustrations with being able to deal with fixing things from the seller perspective. And the folks that were there, they were representatives of a particular category that they're in, and said, yes, we're working on that. We're trying to get better at helping folks with their enforcement of the MAP policy, the other rogue sellers that are out there. But they could sense that that it wasn't a priority, and that's where I love the way you put that. Their laser focus is on customer service, and I'd like to just make mention of why that's so important and why that's made Amazon so successful. It's because they have this laser focus on customer service, that they have become the world's largest trusted retailer online, and no one else really comes even close. And it's that focus on customer service that makes us customers so happy to continue to buy from Amazon. And they do that through enforcement of just poor seller metrics, and they kick people off all the time for just having horrible feedback and reviews on some of the different things that they do. So that's why it is so important to, as a seller, really have fantastic customer service metrics. But when you need to get something done, it does get frustrating. So that's where the rules come in, I think. And Ted, why don't you tell us a little bit about how they set the rules and how we play within those and how they matter.
Well, I'm just going to talk about that in the most general terms. We all know, where the rules are, right? I mean, we know where the agreements that everybody signs, and then there are a number of policy statements out there that Amazon puts out. Those are all available for everybody on Seller Central and everywhere else. But a lot of people, I think, in their rush to join Amazon and start selling on the platform, they just kind of ignore the rules. They just check the box, I accept, and then they're off and running and selling. But when an issue arises and you need to contact Amazon, it's vital that you understand what the rules are, and that you're using the correct terminology when you're communicating with Amazon, and that also you know where to direct your communications. So Amazon is a very compartmentalized organization. It's deliberately done that way, so that, but often it means that the one hand does not know what the other hand is doing. So target your communications to the right person or the right department within Amazon and use the correct terminology. One other thing, remember that Amazon employees, they're overworked and probably underpaid for the most part, especially the staff that you as a seller are going to be working with. So keep your communications brief and to the point. I can't tell you how many times I get emails from clients and they send me, here's what I sent to Amazon. Would you please review it and let me know why I'm not getting a response? And well, they've prepared some single-space, 6-page thing with all kinds of attachments, as if they were going to court and they were trying to prove their case in front of a judge and jury. But your Amazon employee maybe has 1 or 2 minutes to read your email, get the gist of it, and make a decision. Yes, in your favor. No, not. Or send you some kind of bot response, which, of course, we all receive.
Those are so frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
They're called with account suspension, something like, we've decided that your account is fraudulent, and we don't share what reasons why, and we won't be emailing you back. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's it. In all of its varieties. Don't call us. We'll call you.
That's right. That's right. So I brought up our second slide here because you really got into the purposely compartmentalized, and obviously being notorious to work with. And the one thing that I always tell my clients is being patient and persistent. Would you like to comment a little bit about the techniques that people can use with communication? And that's where I think, Tim, we can head on to the next slide, because I think that's essentially getting into some of those details. There we go. So defining the issue and focus of the message. Can you get into those a little bit, Ted?
Absolutely. Again, it's important for you to really understand in Amazon's terms what the issue is, and to be thoroughly acquainted with the rules that govern that issue, and to learn as much about that issue as you can. One way of doing that, of course, is with the sellers forums, or just talking with other people, or folks at Awesome Dynamic who could probably tell you better what the issue is and use the correct terminology to communicate with Amazon. Other than that, Paul, you're right. I mean, it takes a Zen-like patience to to deal with Amazon, and you can't just expect that because they're not getting back to you, that means they're ignoring you. You may have sent the message to the wrong person or to the wrong department, and so they figure, well, this is not my job, and they're just not responding to you. You got to keep at it and be persistent. I can't tell you how many times I have had to, on behalf of a client, message Amazon or email Amazon uh, once a day for a matter of weeks. It sometimes just takes that long before you actually get a response, before you actually get traction there. So, persistence does pay off. And as you know, Paul, I mean, sometimes you get an answer, you get the answer no, right? You actually get somebody who responds intelligently to your email, and the answer is no, we're not going to do this. Um, but often that's not the final answer. Sometimes you need to be persistent. You need to rework the message, and maybe you'll get a different person on the other side to look over your case or your situation, and then you'll get a yes. In fact, I have had clients, because I often deal with suspended accounts. I have had clients. I've been literally on the phone with them and advising them about what to do and how to handle the situation, and they'll tell me, "Oh my God, it looks like my account has been restored. My ASINs are up and running again." But they still haven't received the email from Amazon saying, "Welcome back." And then while we're on the phone, they'll get an email from Amazon saying, "Oh, we still need more information for you." And yet somebody hit the green button and turned their account back on. So, I don't know how that happens, but as I say, Amazon is a very compartmentalized organization, um, and it's not at all uncommon to get conflicting uh, messages or results from them. Just keep being optimistic and keep working it and working it until you actually get the message that says, "Please don't bug us about this anymore. We have made the decision, and the decision is no."
Yeah, there's some people that probably just watched that part and said, "I knew they had a button to just turn it on."
They do.
I knew it. But yeah, hours, weeks, sometimes, and that's where that frustration can really begin to build. And what I know, we're heading into the last slide of what we have here. And Tim, go ahead and pull that up. But that frustration can really build, and you got a couple good points here. And then, once we get through this PowerPoint, I'd like to really just talk a little bit about some of the different stories that you have and that we have to exemplify some of these different points to show that it is really a persistence game, and that just because they say no, like it's not in the Amazon game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it isn't necessarily their final answer. So you don't necessarily have to take a no as a no. But I love your first point. Don't be a jerk. So tell us about that, Ted.
Paul, that's the most important thing. Again, I can tell you horror stories. Clients who have approached me and said, "What am I doing wrong? I need to get my account reinstated," or whatever it is that they need from Amazon. And I read what they have written, and they've written some condescending thing. Well, I've tried to contact you 10 times, and nobody is responding over there. This is no way to run a business. Really? Are you going to lecture these poor people at Amazon who, again, are probably underpaid and overworked, right? You should never do that. Your tone with the folks at Amazon, and frankly anyone in business, should always be polite and professional but firm. And that's the tone that I always take and have been very successful with. I cannot underscore enough how important it is that you never lose your temper, lose your patience with the folks you're communicating with in Amazon. Remember, there is a green button and a red button, and if you're a jerk and if your tone is is condescending or improper or unprofessional in any way, it's so much easier for them to just hit the red button on you or send you another bot response um, than to give you what you're asking for. So be polite, be upbeat, be optimistic, and don't say anything that you would regret.
That's just wonderful advice. And yeah, a lot of people have a short fuse, especially business owners. I know I work with a lot of business owners who are doing all the website and search engine optimization stuff that we do. And I know being a business owner, you have a lot of stress. And somebody that's just not reacting in a way that you would typically think is normal can just add onto that stress and get you extremely frustrated. So it's hard to keep that in check and continue to be optimistic. I've even talked with some clients that think that there's a conspiracy against them at Amazon, and that this one manufacturer they used to work with is in cahoots with some person that they know at Amazon, purposely blocking them from getting a category approval, which is just ridiculous. There are no conspiracies. Amazon's too big to care about one individual person's product and what category they're in. It's just a giant corporation with billions of products and millions of sellers, and really it's just about the gears turn slowly and they don't react as quickly as you might think you do, and your issue really isn't their biggest issue. So that's usually what I try and tell folks.
Yeah, so true. It is hard to maintain calm when you're losing thousands of dollars a day, or somebody is taking over your listing, and all of a sudden your best-selling product is in jeopardy. I understand it's hard to stay calm, but you just have to, and especially in your communications with Amazon, you got to suck it up sometimes and be relaxed and be calm. Before you hit send on that email, maybe have somebody else review the message, if for nothing else, just to check that the tone is, again, upbeat and optimistic and not insulting or condescending in any way.
Right. So let's move right into professional help. How do we know, Ted, when we got to call you to help us out with one of these issues?
Well, sometimes Amazon makes it easy, Paul. They'll send you an email that says, talk to your lawyer. Then you should really talk to a lawyer. Don't wait. Talk to a lawyer about the issue. Or Amazon might be writing you back and saying things that you just don't know what it is. They might be using a terminology that you're unfamiliar with, or some rule that you're not familiar with. And if you're not, get professional help. There are a lot of folks out there, including Awesome Dynamic, that can assist you in figuring out what it is that needs to be done, and get help. And I would caution your listeners also. There is the seller forum out there, and I, like many folks in the Amazon community, I often read the sellers forum, and I see some folks out there that give wonderful advice, and then I see some folks that give advice that, if I were to give it, would be a malpractice. I mean, it's a real crapshoot what kind of advice you're going to get on the sellers forum. So, I guess I have to lean on the side of saying, don't rely on the advice that you get from the sellers forum. But sometimes, on the sellers forum, you can get the assistance of one of the moderators, that they'll jump in for you, or they'll answer the question for you. That's always good. So there are a lot of folks, again, a lot of professionals out there who do know what they're doing, who are willing to mentor, or for a small fee, advise you and get you through a particular problem and increase your sales and get you back online. If it's an attorney issue, that is something having to do with your branding or your intellectual property, most likely, or some other legal issue, Amazon will tell you talk to your lawyer about that.
So that being said, Ted, how does one know who they should be contacting to help them for which specific issues? You and I had a little bit of a conversation about this. You focus on a particular type of client and particular types of issues, and a lot of the stuff that we do isn't legal here. Isn't legal or law-based stuff that we do here at Awesome Dan. We're just helping people go through the motions and get the basics done, get their products listed, manage the accounts. So that's where our two firms really differentiate from each other. You take care of a certain particular type of issue, and a firm like mine takes care of a completely different type of issue. And I'd love for you to get more specific with, what maybe some examples of some different types of things that folks might come to you with.
Sure. I am approached very often by people who have received a cease and desist letter from an attorney. That's a big red flag, and it means that you might be getting sued if you don't comply with the cease and desist, or if you don't investigate it properly and respond to it appropriately. So that's definitely an attorney issue, is if you receive a cease and desist letter. Conversely, I send out cease and desist letters for my clients. As you know, there are a lot of hijackers and counterfeiters that are out there that are, in essence, stealing sellers' intellectual property, that is, their images or their product designs or their trademarks. Again, remember, Amazon is an open catalog forum, and so it's designed so that people who have your product can sell that product. But a lot of folks abuse that privilege by selling counterfeits, that sort of thing. And so that's an intellectual property issue. Sometimes sellers can handle it themselves, but other times they need someone who's a professional who can deal with that. I mentioned also that I do help sometimes with account suspensions and appeals, Jeff Bezos letters, that sort of thing. There are lots of folks out there who are doing that. There's a whole little cottage industry that assists sellers with that. I think what I bring to the table there is, again, if Amazon is suspending you due to some legal issue, particularly if they're claiming that you have an authentic product or that you're an intellectual property claim has been made against you, I can dig down and determine whether that claim had merit, and if not, then I can bring that to Amazon's attention as part of your appeal. And it also, helps that as part of your appeal you can say, hey, I've hired an attorney to assist me to avoid infringement of intellectual property issues. Amazon knows who I am, and they know that I've been working on the platform for quite some time. So I do think that carries some cachet in terms of getting your account reinstated. So
Well,
that's what I do for my clients.
That brings me to my next point. What is your unique selling proposition? You have a law firm. Obviously, you specialize in a lot of things pertaining to Amazon. They know who you are because you've worked with, I think, thousands of folks. Trying different issues pertaining to Amazon issues, from large corporations to maybe some smaller businesses and everything in between. And I want to take another moment to promote your website again and your phone number. So if you could, at this point, we'll revisit that. And Blake, if you could bring up my screen so we can show Ted's website again.
Sure.
Go ahead, Ted. We'll get your email, website, and phone number one more time.
Sure. My email is ted@tedlawfirm.com, and my website is tedlawfirm.com, or your customers can contact me directly at 626-993-7000.
Great. I love to interject in between and get our contact information out there. And I'll do the same for my business real briefly here. I'm Paul DeWarian with Awesome Dynamic. My website is awesomedynamic.com. You can call us at 800-238-1811. And if you need to contact us about anything, including Amazon Seller Consulting, you can just click our free quote tab here, and that'll go to our Director of Sales, Terry Levin, who's usually on with us for these webinars and videos, but due to some technical difficulties with his brand new computer, he's unable to join us today. But going back to our discussion here, we have about 19 more minutes, and I'd love to get into some specific examples of different things that you've been able to help some folks with, and also give Tim, who's now on video with us as well, an opportunity to ask some questions, and Blake, who's also with us and helps us with lots of Amazon issues. Blake, if you have any additional questions, please pipe up as well. We'd love to hear those. But Tim, do you have anything that you'd like to ask Ted so far?
No, I can't think of anything right now, but I'm sure I'll come up with something pretty soon.
Okay. One thing, Blake, do you have anything before I get into a question that I have for Ted?
No, I don't actually, but I can generate something quite quickly.
Okay. So going back to you, Ted, I was just briefly getting into, what is your unique selling proposition? Obviously, specialty with Amazon. If I was to go to, let's say, the attorney that I have on retainer for my business and ask him to help me with some of these Amazon issues, what are some of the things that they're going to have to navigate through that you've already navigated through that's going to make them as effective as you if they were to hire you right now?
Well, one thing about us attorneys is that we are trained in the law, so that is federal and state law, and we are also trained, of course, to appear in court. So my background is in litigation, which means I filed lawsuits and defended lawsuits of all types. I used to spend a lot of time in and out of court, talking to judges, trying cases, taking depositions, and doing those things that any traditional lawyer would do. But what a lot of my colleagues don't understand is that, of course, the federal and state laws still apply to the e-commerce and to the Amazon world. But Amazon is its own mini jurisdiction. They are their own judge and jury, and they have their own set of rules. And when sellers and buyers, for that matter, enter that world, they sign away, to a small degree, they sign away some of their rights that they have in the outside world. So that, in essence, when you post a listing, when a seller posts a new listing on Amazon, they're giving up some of their copyrights to their images and to the text that's in their product description. They're giving up ever so slightly some of their trademark rights. And this is a fair exchange, right? I mean, because you're going on the Amazon platform and you're getting all this exposure for your product and making sales through the Amazon platform. It's a fair exchange, but as I say, traditional lawyers don't understand that there's this Amazon world, and they have their own rules that apply to the situation. And there's this group of people within Amazon who, as we've discussed, are difficult to contact, but they're the judges, right? I mean, they decide who's right and who's wrong in each instance. So it took me many years, a lot of learning by doing and a lot of making mistakes to figure out, how to navigate within that system in an effective way on behalf of my clients. Now, that said, Paul, I get a lot of clients, including one just this morning before I got on with you, who ask me, well, do you have an in at Amazon? Do you have, is there a red phone somewhere that you can just call and you can fix this problem that I have? And I got to underscore to everybody, I don't have, the access to Jeff Bezos or to anybody at Amazon that's going to just fix your problem. And frankly, anybody who says that they do is lying. I know a lot of people in this business. I have had dinner with many different representatives, including executives from Amazon, in which I have tried to get somebody's phone number or email contact, and just when I think I have found the person, well, it's not. Either they move on to somewhere else, or they quit Amazon, or they oh yes, I thought I could deal with that, but I can't. You got to talk to somebody in this other division, and that's across town. It's not even in the same building that I'm in. So, Amazon is just not that way. It's a very compartmentalized organization. The employees come and they go, and I have never met anybody who can honestly say that they have an in at Amazon and they can just call and make things happen.
There's a lot of people who say that they have somebody at Amazon, and when it comes right down to it, like you said, it isn't true. So we all got to deal with the main customer service, but it's about how you do it, and that's where our specialties really come in. Have three questions for you. Blake has a couple, and Tim's got one. I think Blake's are more relevant for right now. We'll wrap up with Tim's question. So, Blake, can you start off with your first question, please?
Sure. How successful are your account suspension appeals overall?
Well, before I answer that question, let me qualify. I sound like such a lawyer, right? But let me qualify a couple of things. Typically, by the time a client gets to me, they have already submitted an appeal, either on their own or through one of the appeal services, and they're on their last gasp. I kind of get the worst cases, people who have committed some probably pretty serious violations of intellectual property, in particular, or some other fairly serious violation of Amazon's rules. I also tend to get folks that have been suspended in the past, more than once sometimes. And as the more suspensions that you have, the more difficult it is. So that's a long way of saying I tend to get the most difficult of cases, and almost every instance, it's somebody who has already submitted an appeal that has been ineffective in getting the results. But so that said, I'm also pretty selective about who I take. If I don't think that a seller has a reasonable chance of being reinstated, I'll just tell them I don't want to take their money and have them be dissatisfied with the outcome. So I send them on their way if I really think that they don't have a realistic chance of being reinstated. So with all those qualifiers, I'm upwards of above 90% success rate. Sometimes it takes some, as I say, some persistence, back and forth with Amazon, giving them additional information, giving them reassurances that the client is going to abide by the rules or not violate somebody's intellectual property. So yeah, I've got a very high success rate.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Great qualifiers there, Ted. If you're following the rules, Ted can definitely help you. But if you've been kind of traveling that gray line,
Repeat
there
offenders.
there could be a couple. You might be hitting some of those qualifiers there.
Yeah, I just to give you, for instance, before you go on, Paul. To give you a for instance, I had a client from a foreign country contact me, and again, there's something that I can help with. If English is not the seller's first language, it's a good idea to have somebody who writes well to prepare your response. But I had somebody from a foreign country pop on. They'd been hit for infringement on one ASIN, and so I'm looking at his storefront, and I see he's clearly infringing on copyrights for at least 90% of his ASINs. So I told him, look, I can't help you. You have all these copyright violations, and he was willing to throw money at me. Oh, just get me reinstated. I'll fix it. I told him no. I have to have my own self-respect. Until you clear that up, I'm not going to represent you. And frankly, you don't belong on Amazon. If you're infringing on other people's copyright or trademark, I'm going to tell you that. And you don't belong on Amazon if you're doing that sort of thing. I don't care how much you pay me.
You're just the kind of that client is just the kind of person that you help a brand owner or manufacturer go after to have them kicked off because it's just a violation of the rules. And there's a deeper problem there, and that's they're just blatantly violating the rules to begin with. Blake, do you want to ask your next question?
Sure. And thank you for answering that. How long on average does it take to remove, let's say, one single rogue seller on average? Again, this way, if I know I have 100, I can do some internal math, or do you also do batches?
It's an interesting question, Blake. Thank you.
Yeah, we, a very typical client for me is a fairly large or mid-sized brand owner, and they have neglected Amazon, and they come to me and they say, look, we've got 19, 20, 100 ASINs, and we've got X number of hijackers or rogue sellers on them, and we do triage initially. Usually I'm pretty successful in knocking off the hijackers. Again, it really depends on many factors, including whether the client has fully registered their trademark, whether they're brand registered. Depends on whether they're using a review service or not, so that some of the hijackers might actually be selling authentic product. So it's a difficult question for me to answer on average, but I'll tell you that when a client like that comes to me and we're doing sort of initial triage on a large number of ASINs, and let's say there are a dozen or maybe 24 different hijackers that are on those ASINs, we're knocking off 80 to 90% of them within a couple of weeks. Usually takes that long, and then it just depends on the client. How far they want us to drill down and try to really go after those last hijackers to remove them. And it's a cost-benefit analysis for the client. Some clients are more than happy with 80 to 90% results. Some clients want to see every rogue seller off of their ASIN forever, and they don't care how much time or how much that's going to cost them. We're happy to pursue that for those sellers that can afford it and that want that sort of attention to their ASINs.
Awesome.
It's a great customer to have, too.
It is.
Yes. Tim, you had a question, and it really talks about enforcement and using some of the strategies that we talked about before outside of Amazon. And Tim, would you pose that question, please? Tim, I think you're on mute.
You are absolutely correct. I'm sorry about that. Yes, I did a question about that as well as another follow-up question that's somewhat related. But I know when we first talked, Ted, that you had talked about going through avenues outside of Amazon to be able to get results, because sometimes going through Amazon is not effective. So what kind of avenues do you use to get some of those results?
great question, and you're absolutely right. Whenever possible, I tell my clients to let's work outside of the Amazon arena. You know, let's face it, Amazon restricts our abilities to identify people who may be doing something wrong, that is, rules violations or infringing on intellectual property. And they also restrict our ability to communicate with them. So, and let's face it, you know, a lot of sellers, especially the rogues out there, you know, they're anonymous in essence. They'll
Mhm.
change their seller name. They've got multiple accounts. We all know that that's a big no-no, but people do have multiple accounts out there. They've figured out how to game the system. And so they can thumb their noses at a message, you know, through Amazon system. But I find that a lot of rogue sellers do have some kind of connection here in the United States, and often many of them are here in Southern California. There is
Oh, wow.
a very, very large Chinese business community here in the San Gabriel Valley, where I am in Pasadena, California. And I find very often that these sellers, if they're not actually located here, they have some kind of supply point that's coming through here, and if we can send paper, that is either a cease and desist letter or even a complaint that we're threatening to file, and find out where they are, who they are. I'll send my investigator over there or a process server and
Mhm.
physically hand them the piece of paper, and that gets results. Sometimes too, you know, I had a client not too long ago that was having trouble with a rogue seller. They were mocking our messages, and you know, it was like, you'll never get me, and even, you know, threatening us. And we found out that this rogue seller had a trademark application that was pending and that happened to be in its most sensitive stage. And so I was able to contact the attorney, who was, you know, literally 2 miles down the road from me, and say, hey, by the way, you know, I understand you represent this entity, and I just wanted to make you aware that your client has been engaging in trademark infringement online, and here's some of his emails, his threatening emails to me and my client. And you know, that took about 5 minutes. I got a phone call from that lawyer. Oh, you know, very sorry, I'm going to explain this to my client. Took care of the problem permanently, literally within 5 minutes after that lawyer received the letter.
Wow.
So anytime we can be creative, I have, you know, unlike most people, I have access to some really good investigators, including some that speak Chinese. And so if I need to communicate in Chinese, I have ways of doing that. If I need to find somebody, I have ways of doing that that the average person does not.
And then those are a few more of your unique selling proposition items that you have as well in your corner. Well, that brings us to the end of our time here, Ted. I hope that you'll join us for another webinar. I just really enjoyed our discussion. I'm sure a lot of the folks that are watching live now or watch this video in the future will have also really enjoyed it. And I'd like to, again, recap with your information. I'm going to share my screen again and bring up your website. So please share with us your contact details, and I'll let you go ahead and do that now.
Thanks, Paul. Again, people can contact me by email is my preferred method, ted@tedlawfirm.com. My website is up on the screen, tedlawfirm.com, or please just give me a call, 626-993-7000.
Thank you, Ted. And I'm going to promote my business one more time here. Awesome Dynamic Tech Solutions, where you can demand awesome. We, of course, do the Amazon Seller Consulting. You can visit us at awesomedynamic.com, or you can call us at 800-238-1811. And if you do want to contact us through email, click on this free quote button, submit your details, and we'll get back to you within one or 2 business days, usually within just a few hours. Terry's Johnny on the spot with getting back to folks right away. Thank you so much, Ted. If you would, hang on the line with us. We're going to go ahead and go off air, and we'll chat a little bit afterward.
Thank you.